Hi, so my name is Astrid, and some of you have been watching some of my videos on traveling in our schoolie, and that's one of the things that we love to do, me and my husband, and we have 3 kids and a dog. And we have a bus, a school bus that we've converted to an RV, and it's awesome. We love it. We spend, sometimes like few months at a time traveling in it. Sometimes we just take short trips in it, and it's a newer thing for us too. We're still working on it. It's still these things to be done on it, if you've seen some of our videos, and I plan to upload more, so sorry, I'm not a very good vlogger. But anyway, I wanted to share how we support ourselves on the road. I know that's like a really common question for people who live on school buses or who travel a lot. People ask, well, what do you do for work? So my husband's job is not a portable job, it's stationary. So he does construction, and he can't like necessarily take his jobs with him. Although he does tend to find work wherever he is. So if we know we're going to be spending a lot of time in California when we go to visit our family over there, he finds jobs like with friends and with family and things like that. But actually, the majority of our income comes from my Outschool pay. So I work on Outschool as a teacher. It is something that I'm super passionate about. I've always been interested in teaching. If you come from like a public school background, you probably feel the same about teaching, that it's like a calling that's really fun and awesome. For me, just a little backstory, I guess. I started out with this idea of being a teacher, so I went to college, and then partly through, doing some prerequisites and stuff, and I kind of realized that not only is this really expensive, but I kind of came to realize that I'm not a huge fan of the school system itself. And I think it's because I had this idea of how I wanted to teach, and I realized, you know, I realized from people telling me and also from seeing it myself that I wouldn't necessarily always be able to do it the way that I imagined teaching to be. So I was kind of disenchanted with the idea, and I felt really sad about it. But I knew that I didn't want to go through the whole process of getting licensed and working my tail off to get this done, and then end up being really upset and unfulfilled with it, which nothing against teachers that do find a way to make that positive for them in their career. That I think that's amazing and awesome. I just knew that for me, the way that I wanted to teach the things that I was passionate about, namely literature and theater and things like that, like I just knew that I wasn't able to necessarily do that in a classroom of 20 students, 25 students, or maybe in a school that didn't have the budget for the arts programs and things like that. So I felt really bad that I couldn't do anything to fix it. But I just kind of stepped away from that arena for a while, and it was okay. I found some really cool, like I found that I liked working for the airlines, and I was I liked flying airplanes. So that was something, I kind of just went in that career path for a little bit. Eventually, though, it came around again. So I got married and had kids. And right away, when my son was getting old enough to, for schooling and stuff, we realized pretty early on that we were going to homeschool. So that was something that we talked about a lot, and we decided that we were going to go ahead with like unschooling, with an unschooling technique for now. And we kind of just never stopped. So we had my son, and then 3 years later, my daughter, and then 3 years later, my other daughter. So we have 3 of them, and they're all at 3 years apart, which is convenient. And so we just kind of stayed with that ideal of homeschooling for that amount, for all 3 of them. And it's been such an amazing journey for us, like with parenting and with the relationship that we're trying to have with our kids and with each other. So none of my kids have been to public school, and I've really stepped away from grading and testing and using any kind of curriculum that while we don't use any curriculum at all. And not that I'm opposed to it, it's just that I've never really needed to. So we kind of just go with what's been working for us. Now, a huge part of our homeschooling has been using Outschool. I will say that's like such a big deal for us because my kids don't go to regular classrooms, you know, so it's kind of like the only time that they are in a classroom setting, other than like when they take workshops locally or, you know, just random classes that pop up. You know, that's kind of like those more structured classes that they take. And it's been such a great experience because the teachers are just passionate about what they are wanting to teach. So you can take these totally random classes, like, well, they seem random, like he took a class on Minecraft and theater. And he loves theater and he loves Minecraft. But not only was it like, you know, acting out and having fun, it wasn't all just that. They had to write the script together, so they had to collaborate and write a script. They had to design the characters, design how they look, and then put on the performance. And so it was really a great experience that incorporated a lot of other subjects besides just theater and you know, collaboration. So another class that he's taken, you know, he's taken some Pokemon themed writing classes. My daughter's taken My Little Pony themed writing classes. And, you know, obviously these are things that we also do at home. We do reading and writing a lot, but it's just really fun to, you know, and I think that most people agree that their kids sometimes listen better to somebody else. I don't know why, but that's just the way it works. So it actually does help. It's been a huge contribution to our homeschooling techniques and our homeschooling lifestyle, I should say. It's just been so amazing. So for me, as you know, somebody who was always interested in teaching, I looked at, you know, him taking these classes, and I thought, well, this is really cool. This is kind of like what I wanted to do when I wanted to be a teacher, but it just didn't work that way in that public school setting, which is totally fine. They have other things, you know, there's pros and cons to everything, but that's just not what my style was. And the more that I started to gain that confidence as a homeschooler and a homeschooling parent, the more that I realized that, you know, yeah, I can do that, and it actually works for me and for my kids. So maybe it'll work for some other kids too. So one thing that I have been doing locally, when my kids were younger, they started taking dance classes, and it was a lot of money. And I realized pretty quickly that was gonna add up pretty majorly in a few years. I did have a dance background. I took dance in college. That's one of the things that I was focusing on, where it was dance, music, and then theater. So I had a lot of experience with dance, both in a smaller studio, like a dance studio itself, and then at the college level. And I really, I really, you know, I appreciated the efforts of the dance studio, but it just really wasn't what we were looking for in dance. In terms of dance, it kind of seemed more focused on the recital, and just, and you know, and that experience. But for me, dance was so much more than that. It was, you know, exposing yourself to different styles of dance, and really focusing on self-expression and things like that. So I thought, you know, I remember saying to my husband, I'm not really, like, I didn't really like, we were at the recital, and I was like, oh, I could do better than that. And he says, well, why don't you? And then, you know, not to say anything bad about the other teachers or anything, it's just that style is so different, you know, and what appeals to one type of dancer just appeals differently to somebody else. So he said, well, why don't you? And we were homeschooling, of course, at this time, and I had some other friends that were homeschooling. And so I thought, well, maybe if their kids are interested, we'll get a group together, maybe we'll rent out. So it just kind of grew up. Well, maybe we'll rent out this space to dance once a week. And it eventually grew into my own nonprofit organization, well, a nonprofit co-op basically, for dance. And so I run a dance program. And so when my son was taking these classes on Outschool, I thought, well, you know, I'm teaching these dance classes, you know, to a bunch of homeschoolers in the community now. And it's been really great and really fun. Maybe I can offer the same types of classes online. You know, obviously it would be different because it's through the camera, but maybe it could work. So I did. I applied to teach. They accepted me. One of the questions that she asked in the interview was like, how do you plan on dancing in a virtual classroom? So I was like, what do you mean? It's the same as dancing, just with a camera instead. I'll just show them, and she's like, okay, that sounds really cool. So actually it does, it works really well. I have like a, I use my smartphone sometimes, like, so I can move it around, like I can actually log into the class and put it on a tripod and move it around in my dance studio and everything. So it works really great. But as time went on, I just started adding more and more subjects. And if you take a look at my Outschool profile now, it's just exploding with subjects, and these are all literally like the subjects that I wanted to teach. I remember very specifically when I was such a young college student, all excited about teaching kids, and I said, I have this idea of when I teach Shakespeare, I want to like put on the play in the class, and then when I teach like Beowulf, I remember my mom telling me this cool story about a teacher that like read it in the original language, or that was teaching like some of the literature they were learning Gaelic. I remember when I did a report on a book, I actually borrowed my friend's harp, and I learned a song from ancient Greece, I believe it was, and I came in a toga and everything, and I realized like that's so not practical for everybody in every scenario. But I just really love the exciting aspect of like, bringing this book to life, or bringing this play to life, instead of just sitting down and reading it and studying it and doing homework on it and just getting graded on it and then you're done forever. And then next month somebody asks you about it and you can't even remember. And so I really wanted things to come alive, and I know that's not practical in every situation, but it is practical on Outschool. So I have a class right now where it's a 6-week Shakespeare course where we do crafts that are based on the Elizabethan period. So week 1, we learn about the plague and we make a pomander ball. And week 2, we learn about coat of arms and we design a coat of arms and the crest. Week 3, we have a masquerade, and then we have another week, week 3 is actually making trifle, so that's really fun. And then we have a masquerade, and we have a lesson on bookbinding and calligraphy. So these are ways that I have found to make that subject, really come alive. And I've found that a lot of students are just so excited about it. I have a lot of students that are interested in theater, and so they're just so excited to be able to share that. Another class that I have is based around American Girl. So in case you haven't noticed, I kind of like history a lot. I like literature, I love history. And American Girl books have always been like one of my favorite series. I think the books are so well written, like amazingly written. And one of my favorite characters was Felicity growing up. And so as soon as my daughter was old enough to have dolls, I ran out and bought her first American Girl doll, and then I bought my own, my very first American Girl doll, Felicity. I bought her last year. And so I built a class around American Girl dolls, and specifically with sewing, because I know a lot of girls, the clothes are expensive, and they want to learn how to sew and maybe make their own outfits and design their own dresses and things like that. And it's a very popular course on Outschool, one of my most popular courses. And one of the things that I love about it is that I have girls who are like, between 10 and 14. I've even had a 15-year-old come, and they are embarrassed to talk about American Girl to their local friends. Maybe they don't have a local friend that's into dolls. And so people kind of like make fun of people who are doll people. I don't really know why. I think it's amazing and cool. But yeah, I didn't normally play with dolls like how people play with dolls, but I really liked making the clothes for them. And I think that's that's the reason why I learned to sew, is to make costumes. So so I find that a lot of girls, they love that. They love the characters, they love the clothes, they love the accessories, and they like to pose them for pictures. And they're a little bit embarrassed by people who make fun of them for it. So this is kind of like their safe place where they can meet other girls around the country, and they're like, they feel comfortable talking to me about it when they see that I've got dolls too. And I tell them I went to go see American Girl live. Yes, I did. I spent money. Me and my daughter, and we made this big mommy daughter thing where we went to go see American Girl live, and they're like, wow, she's a real hardcore fan. So they feel comfortable talking about it, and I just love that. I've had some girls that shared their stories of like how they wrote a story about their doll, and they're just amazing. It's just really cool. So that's been my experience on Outschool. I'm blown away by how amazing it is. I really think that if anybody who is passionate about the subject that they know about, and they want to teach kids about it, and that's something that they really, really love to do, that is what Outschool is looking for. They're not looking for the degrees, the credentials. That can definitely help you, depending on the subject that you want to teach. That can help you for sure. And that has probably helped you to become the person that you are today, and that's amazing. But in terms of homeschooling and exploring a subject, that's not always like the top of the list of what we're looking for. I know for me and my family, that's not anywhere near the top of the list. I look for a teacher who's passionate about the subject that they're teaching, a teacher that really thinks like, what are the kids gonna like? What are the kids looking for? What's gonna draw their attention and keep them engaged? So even if it takes Legos, Pokemon, Minecraft, or even if it's just like a really cool idea, like my son took this class on weird inventions, and it was so cool. Like, I mean, he ended up learning about patents, which I just hadn't even thought about. It's just like, how often does that come up? And he's 10. He took a CSI forensic science class, which I thought was so fun. He loves watching Monk, the show Monk, and that's one of our favorite shows. And he learned about fingerprinting, blood spatters, which of course included discussions on blood types and DNA. All that stuff is just, it's so much fun to be able to see how you can incorporate core subjects into like real life applications. It's just exactly what I was looking for as a parent and as a teacher. Like, it's literally just amazing. This is the future of education. I'm so, so grateful for this opportunity to teach on Outschool. So I would love to help anyone who's interested in teaching to get you started on it, like whatever it takes. Like I've had lots of like new teachers email me and like, I don't remember how to attach this, or I don't remember, and that's totally great. I'm always there. You can ask my husband. Unfortunately, I'm on my phone quite a bit. So yeah, lots of people just email me really quick question about this, and I'll send them a help article, or I'll just walk them through it, or whatever. I also work directly for Outschool now, helping the new teachers. So it's kind of like a little pre-orientation to applying. So if you go to the Outschool website, which I'll link in the comments, you have the option when you start the application to teach. You have the option to schedule a welcome call with an experienced teacher, and one of them is me. And then that way you can like pick a day and time that works for you. That teacher will call you. So I would call you and discuss Outschool and like what it could take to get started. If you have some ideas of what you'd like to teach, but you're not sure how it would work, I can definitely help you with that. I've had a lot of people say, well, I kind of want to teach photography, but I don't really know where to start. And I was like, well, how about this? And what my son would look for is this. And so we just talk about like ideas and come up with some ways to make that actually work in a virtual environment. So let me know if you need any help with anything. I just wanted to share my experience, and also I think it kind of helps for people who want to be self-employed, maybe on the road. I've taught my Outschool classes from the national parks, from Yellowstone, and I taught some classes at the Badlands one day, and in a park. One time we had to pull over and I had to find a park to do my class in as a dance class. I had to go outside and set up my tripod, and I taught the class there, and it was actually really great. So Outschool has been a really great opportunity, a great option for our homeschooling family, and for my kids, and then as for me as a teacher, it's just so fulfilling. But anyway, let me know if you need any help with anything. Yeah, it's been awesome. So I'm going to share in the comments some links, the link to my teacher page in case you're interested in signing up for classes, and then also applying as a teacher, and that'll start the process for you, and then you can schedule that welcome call if you want to. All right, well, thank you, and I hope to see you on Outschool sometime.